Good day everyone, I'm Abigail Carasi. Today, I'll be presenting in Intermediate Accounting 3, which is financial statements for small and medium-sized entities, also known as SMEs. Let's begin with the basic definition of SMEs according to the International Accounting Standards Board of IASB. The IASB says that an SME is a business that does not have public accountability. Now, what does that mean in the simple terms? It means the business does not sell shares or issue debt in public market. So these are not companies you see in the stocks exchange. Second, SMEs prepare general purpose financial markets for people outside the company, such as owners, lenders, banks, or suppliers. These users need financial information to make decisions. In short, SMEs are businesses that are smaller and privately owned and not required to follow very complex reporting rules meant for large corporations. Next, here is the definition from the Philippine SEC. The SEC classifies an entity as an SME if it meets either of these size thresholds. Total assets between 3 million and 350 million or total liabilities between 3 million and 250 million. So for example, if a business owns assets worth 50 million or maybe it has liabilities of 100 million, that business technically falls under the SME category. This helps the SEC decide what accounting standard a company should follow. Now, meeting the size threshold is not enough. To be required to use the PFRS for SMEs, the business must also meet several conditions. First, the business is not required to file financial statements under SRC Rule 68.1. Second, it is not preparing for an initial public offering, meaning it doesn't plan to go public. Third, it does not hold a secondary license, which applies to banks, insurance companies, and similar institutions. Fourth, it is not a public utility like water or electricity companies. In other words, the PFRS for SMEs is meant for small or medium companies with simple operation and no public accountability. For micro businesses or those below the 3 million threshold, they actually have more flexibility. They can choose full PFRS or PFRS for SMEs or even another acceptable basis. However, even if a company fits the SME definition, there are times when the SEC still requires it to use full PFRS. For example, if the company is a subsidiary of a parent company that reports under full PFRS, then it must follow the same standard for consistency. Another example is when the business is planning an IPO within the next 2 years. Since it will eventually need full PFRS, the SEC requires it early on. Branches of foreign companies reporting under IFRS must also use full PFRS. So basically, if the entity is part of a group that already applies full PFRS, or if it has a future plan to become a public entity, it cannot use the simplified SME standard. At this point, we now move to the major differences between full PFRS and PFRS for SMEs. Full PFRS is very detailed and technical, which is suitable for large companies. PFRS for SMEs is designed to be simpler, easier to apply, and less costly for smaller businesses. Let's talk about financial statement presentation. Under full PFRS, when you apply certain changes that affect the past, you need to present a third balance sheet. This makes reporting more complete but also more complicated. SMEs do not need to do this. Full PFRS always requires a full statement of comprehensive income with all its components. But PFRS for SMEs allows a business to present a simple income statement if there are no other comprehensive income items. Next is revenue recognition. Full PFRS uses a complex 5-step model focusing on control. SMEs use simpler concept. Revenue is recognized when significant risk and rewards are transferred to the buyer. For OCI components, full PFRS has many items including FBOCI investment. SMEs remove this to simplify reporting. And lastly, under full PFRS, the statement of changes in equity is always required. But under SME standards, if the changes in equity are simple, a company may just present a statement of income and retained earnings instead. Disclosures and financial statements. Full PFRS requires a lot more disclosures. For example, it requires segment information and earnings per share, which are important for investors. But SMEs are not publicly traded, so these are not necessary. Full PFRS also has rules for interim reporting, while the SME standard does not. When it comes to financial statements, the full PFRS has multiple categories like amortized costs, FBOCI, and FBPL. These require complex measurement. The SME standard, the category are simplified to basic and non-basic instruments. These are much easier to understand and apply. Differences in investment and goodwill. For investments in associates, full PFRS requires the use of the equity method. SMEs have more flexibility. They can choose between the cost model, equity method, or fair value. Another big difference is goodwill. Under full PFRS, goodwill is included in the investment and is not amortized. Instead, it must be tested for impairment every year. But in the SME standard, goodwill is recognized separately and amortized, usually up to 10 years if its useful life cannot be determined. Bearer plans also differ. Full PFRS treats them as part of property, plant, and equipment. SMEs do not have a specific section for bearer plants, so they are treated under agriculture. Differences in agriculture and intangibles. In agriculture, full PFRS requires companies to measure biological assets at fair value less cost to sell, which can be complicated and costly. SMEs only use fair value when it's readily available. If not, they can simply use the cost model, making it much easier. For research and development, the rules also differ. Under full PFRS, research costs are expense, but development costs may be capitalized if they meet strict criteria. SMEs skip the complexity and simply expense all research and development costs. For intangible assets, full PFRS allows indefinite useful life, but SMEs always treat intangible assets as having a finite life, with a maximum of 10 years if uncertain. Goodwill, grants, and borrowing costs. Goodwill in a business combination is also handled differently. Full PFRS does not amortize goodwill, while the SME standard amortizes it over time. For government grants, full PFRS matches the grant with the related expenses. SMEs, on the other hand, recognize the grant immediately if there are no conditions attached. And for borrowing cost, full PFRS allows capitalization for qualifying assets, such as building under construction. But SMEs avoid this complexity and simply expensing all borrowing costs. Leases, benefits, and disclosures. For leases, full PFRS uses the single model approach under PFRS 16. This means all leases result in a right of use asset. SMEs still use the old dual model, where leases are either operating lease or finance lease. For employee benefits, full PFRS requires the projected unit credit method, which is very technical. SMEs are allowed to use this method only if it doesn't cause undue cost or effort. Finally, in terms of disclosures, full PFRS requires detailed breakdowns of key management compensation. SMEs only need to disclose the total amount, keeping it simple. That ends my presentation on the financial statements for SMEs. I hope this helped you understand how SMEs are defined and why the PFRS for SMEs is simpler than full PFRS.